It's time for the social show with Viwe Tyolwana.
Social show?
Social show.
Molweni, a very good morning to you, welcome to the social show on this beautiful Monday morning. My name is Viwe Tyolwana, and for the next 30 minutes we're going to be talking all things CSI, CSR and shared value, all things that I'm working to make sure that our Vision 2030 goals are met, and are met with jubilee, right? We don't want to get there and be like, oh my word, what have we been doing for the past few years? And if you are in that specific space, well done. You are fast tracking our pace. You are making sure that by the time our kids are living in this world, there will be some sort of difference, and I commend you. Of course, if you have any ideas or anything that you think should be on the show and the next week, please do not be afraid to send me a message on our platforms, either on Twitter or on Facebook, and you can perhaps get onto the show if it's really interesting and it's something that I think more companies can really support and be behind. That's what the show is about. It's about making sure that we put the right ideas in the forefront so that more people can get involved and more people can get inspired to do what they do best, which is to save the world and to make sure that their communities are safe and are progressing in a way that is uniquely South African. Before I get into our update Monday, I'm going to go straight into the news.
CSI Update. CSI Update.
3 field rangers have been arrested on suspicion of poaching in the Kruger National Park. SANParks announced this Wednesday on the 16th of January. The suspects were based at Crocodile Bridge section and are currently in custody for further investigation until they appear in court. The arrests were a joint effort by SANParks Rangers, Environmental Investigation Unit SAPS, the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation as well. This could be your last chance to enter the FSA 24th Young Farmer of the Year competition. Free State Agriculture is looking for the 24th winner of the prestigious competition. The organization appeals to all young farmers, their friends, their family to make sure that their best candidates are finalists this year. Entries close on the 31st of January 2019. According to Professor Peter Fourie, convener of the judges and the head of Department of Agriculture at the Central University of Technology, a finalist must set an example for others in the industry, especially for young farmers. Farmers will be judged on, among other things, their future vision, budget, finance, production, marketing and community engagement. However, the most important aspect includes management philosophy and how technical skills are used to and put into action. FSA's Young Farmer Conference with the theme Accessible Resources in a Modern Agricultural Environment will be held at the Monte Bello Estate in Bloemfontein on the 17th of April 2019, after which the Young Farmer of the Year will be announced at a gala dinner. And lastly, in our news, Airbus and the GIZ have announced the top 10 African tech startups that will take part in the latest Airbus BizLab Africa for Future Accelerator program. The top candidates were selected from 314 entries representing 19 African countries that were received when the challenge was opened last October. These were assessed by a panel of Airbus and other independent experts. Candidates were selected after an open public pitch event in front of experts, potential investors and the media and stakeholders in Kenya's capital city. The hashtag Africa for Future is a joint business accelerator initiative of Airbus and GIZ, Make IT in Africa initiative, together with the Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology, a non-profit seed fund and pan-African organization that brings together startups, entrepreneurs and the tech community and the inner circle, as well as the South African-based innovation consultancy. And that concludes our news for today.
When I was 5 years old, I was an annoying kid, playing all the time and asking my mom to buy me that toy or that toy. And I always wondered why my dad can do the same. Why he needs to spend his time like doing boring things like waking up in the morning very early or coming back late at night. But time have changed. From 2007 to 2012, the number of unemployed people has increased from 170 million till 202 million. And 75 million young people just like me are currently unemployed. So I guess that my father, he had an easier time finding a job. but we can change that.
My name is Xena. I'm a chemical engineer and I work as a process specialist at Presolid. As a manufacturing company, we are very concerned with ensuring responsible consumption and production. Therefore, we continuously invest in new technology that reduces our environmental impact and increases the energy efficiency of our production. Part of my job is to experiment with and measure the flow of the raw material. It helps us match the material and the product to minimize waste in the production.
Alrighty, you back on the social show, and as you know, Mondays are update Mondays, just to let you know what's happening in and around the industry, but more than that, in the world, right? What's happening in different spaces. Maybe you might inspire somebody to do something different, or if you are in an industry that does speak to the updates that I give you, maybe you can start off something in your own space. And I think that's important, right? If you have anything that you think we should be on the lookout for, again, please do not be afraid to send me a message on our brandlab.co.za platforms, which is on Twitter as well as on Facebook, or you can just send me an email at press@social-tv.co.za. Of course, you know that social TV is the bigger umbrella of social show. Basically, what we do is tell you what's going on in the CSR and shared value space. But anyway, as I said, today is Update Monday. We don't necessarily have a guest on Mondays. We speak about what it is that's going on in the space, which is CSI, or just in the space of good news, or people trying to do good. Some people failing at doing good as well. But this was an interesting story that I found. Quite interesting, actually. I said interesting twice. It's a Monday. Forgive me. Anyway, despite how many hangovers they have helped to inflict on college students, there's a beer company that is ensuring that young grads can finish their academic career without the burden of student debt. Now, the natural light beer brand from, I think it's Anheuser-Busch, recently announced that they would be giving away $10 million over the course of the next 10 years to eliminate student debt in America. Now, this initiative is part of the company's college debt relief program, which they launched last year as part of their commitment to helping graduates remember college for the good times and not of the burden that sort of follows after. In 2018, the company, I think they made up about 1 million between 25 they gave 1 million between 25 college students who applied for the donations by submitting videos but why they think they need to go to college. And this year they will kickstart the initiative by looking for 70 students who will submit similar videos about their college inspiration. So last year the college debt relief program had a major impact on the NATI community, both financially and emotionally, but student debt in America continues to rise, so they're coming back even stronger and more committed to make an impact well beyond 2019. I think it's a fantastic initiative. I think if you are selling most of your alcohol to the greater students in and around the world, it makes sense for you to sort of match that up with trying to relieve debt, or even just getting people into university. In fact, I'm actually really excited about this, because I do think it's going to start off as a huge trend, especially when you go to, like, I went to Wits, and almost every week there was a new alcohol that was being branded or being sold at a cheaper price, or whatever the case may be, in and around. As you walking into and out of classes, there's a whole tent of beer or an alcoholic beverage that is being sold, or whatever the case may be. So how amazing it would be if with that it came sort of like an accountability program that looks at not only college debt relief or university debt relief, but also looks at trying to make sure that people carry on with their semesters. Because I've seen a lot of people, the epidemic of people who drop out of university, number one, on scholarships, that drop out of university because of alcohol abuse is ridiculous, especially from where I come from. I come from the Eastern Cape, where it feels as though that's the only thing young people do, which is drink. And so when you come to university, it feels as though that's what you're living for. You're living for drinking. And so it's kind of a nice way for these alcohol beverage companies to sort of shine a light on, dude, you're at school. You can have a good time, but you're at school. your thoughts. I'd like to know what you think about this initiative. It sounds really great. 10 million, which is going into making sure that kids are relieved from their debt at the end of their university careers. I think there's so much that we could delve into, and it'd be great to actually have somebody from SAB or something like that on the show. Maybe just speak a little bit about this new wave that's coming up, starting in the States, where a natural light beer, I won't say which one it is, has it's actually called Natural Light. Didn't even know, but anyway, it's one of the beers in America that is hosting a really amazing program to make sure people stay in school, but also don't have to worry about the debt that comes straight after. Okay, another update is that within a year, single-use plastics and excess packaging have actually become public enemy number one. A recent Greenpeace-led audit looked at companies behind the waste-lining Canadian waterways, which sort of looked at how plastic trash has been cleaned up on shorelines. And they looked at a number of companies, which is Nestle, which is Tim Hortons, PepsiCo, and the Coca-Cola Company, as well as McDonald's. And apparently all of these companies are part of the industry, and are actually one of the biggest contributors to Canadian shorelines being a little bit hectic when it comes to recycling. With consumers looking for convenience and portable food solutions, this problem will not go away anytime soon. In fact, it could get worse if nothing is done. The number of meals in Canada consumed outside the home is only increasing. Canadian households spend around 35% of their food budget outside a grocery store, and that percentage is increasing every year. Now, the number of people walking around with plastic containers and bags and wrappers and cups will likely increase, and the food, service, retail and process sectors are fully aware of this environmental conundrum. So there's a lot of things that are happening in and around our takeaway spaces or restaurant retailers, where they're really trying to see how they can sort of not use plastic. Now that's the trend, the biggest trend and the biggest enemy since I think even before 2017 I saw a big trend into the straws, and now it's moving into the cups. People are just trying to find ways in which they don't have to use this really detrimental material to our environment within the space. It's not like people are stopping, people are still going to McDonald's, and people are still going to ShopRite Checkers and using their plastic bags. People are still, there's still some places where plastic straws are being used in I don't even know. It's crazy how many places where we could cut out, the plastic issue, but we are not really doing the most out of that. So I really do think that Greenpeace is onto something, and of course I know they're trying to audit, and I think it's important that we audit these companies, because as much as they can do great things in CSI or work with big organizations and try to turn around education and poverty. I mean, if you think about McDonald's and the kind of work that they do, they run a McDonald's house all around the world, it's amazing work. But if they still are selling plastic straws or not using recyclable materials in the way in which they package their food, we're still sort of dealing with people who aren't necessarily dealing with the issues that they are presenting to the world. Instead of they are sort of reaching into other spaces, which is not a bad thing. But I've always said there's nothing better than a CSI solution that is ultimately based in the production that you're in the product that you're in the brand, in the environment that you're in. So if you are Avis, for instance, it makes sense for you to get into mobility and people who are disabled and how they get around. If you are, or even just how much fuel sort of what kind of emissions are being are actually polluting our country at the moment. What can you do about that as a motor giant? So there's so many things that I think can be done by contributors within the space, instead of like trying to go too far and trying to really fix the world in different ways, which I don't necessarily say should stop, because I do think CSI and CSR is two different things, right? You have to be responsible, but you also have to have some initiative. But I do think that this Greenpeace audit is going about the right way to look at how to decrease the waste lining that we're finding, not only in our shorelines but just in our environment, right? and Canada is leading this audit, and I can't wait till they come here, and I can't wait till people really start to look at how they can decrease the ways in which they are contributing to our environment negatively, of course. So that's something else to look out for. If you don't know what's going on, find out a little bit more. If you are in this space, I speak to the recycling company almost every month, and they always have new ways and new tips on how companies, large corporations, can help decrease the number of plastics that are really messing up our environment. In other news, you may actually soon be able to drink sparkling water that contains, wait for it, carbon dioxide captured directly from the atmosphere. Now, Climeworks is a company that specializes in carbon capture technology and will be applying their air filtration machines to suck up carbon dioxide for the use of creating sparkling water. Now, I've heard about this. I've heard about it when it was still coming. I heard about it from different countries who were trying to develop the idea, and it looks as though Climeworks is at the top. Now, the company partnered with Swiss beverage brand, which is called Valsa, which is also owned by Coca-Cola and HBC, and one of the beverage industry leaders in sustainability, actually. Now, the drinks made with captured carbon will be on supermarket shelves in Europe within the next 3 months. Climework machines use large air filters to collect carbon dioxide direct from the air in one step, and the startup already has 14 carbon capture facilities installed atop power plants, waste incinerators, and other industrial buildings across Europe. Now, why I found this very interesting is that, number one, it makes a beautiful, if you are into startups and you want to get into something, look at what they're doing. Look at how you can supply it, or how you can get into this specific industry. I think it's going to be huge in the next few months, especially if you are a social entrepreneur. We've got a water problem in South Africa, we do, but also water does make money, especially sparkling water. People are on that space. They want to drink sparkling water wherever I'm at. People are sort of drinking sparkling water. This is an amazing idea. And if you really want to do something that's different and you want to make money, and you are an entrepreneur sitting down thinking, what is it that I'm actually interested in, find out what Climeworks is doing and see how you can be part of that new this newness that's coming out of water being made out of carbon dioxide. I definitely think that it's something that's going to be growing in the next few years, and it's something that we need to get involved in as early as possible. So if you are interested, please find out more. The building supply according to the company, the majority of the energy required to run the direct air capture plant comes from a low-grade waste heat. And the captured emissions are currently being used to boost greenhouse crop production, help create synthetic fertilizer and renewable fuel. And they also hope that their machines will be able to capture at least 1% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions by 2025. So not only are they making a product out of carbon dioxide, they're also making renewable fuel, fertilizer, as well as crop production, boosting greenhouse crop production, and decreasing carbon dioxide emissions, which I think ultimately is what we all need to do to halt climate change, or at least reverse climate change, so that we're able to live in a world that is not so messed up. Our world is messed up. So if you are an entrepreneur, I suggest you look at what they're doing, or if you are interested in how you can be part of what they're trying to do, just find out more about them on their websites, Climeworks. I'm actually pretty excited about this. I think it's going to be a new revenue stream for entrepreneurs, and I think if you are listening, it's something that you can also look at. And I wonder how Coca-Cola is going to sort of really introduce it in Africa and South Africa. I'm interested in finding that out. It's a conversation worth having, definitely. And just lastly, just to bring it a little bit back home, 67 blankets for Nelson Mandela Day are going to be crocheting up a Guinness record breaking storm on Mozart's birthday. Now, this Mozart's birthday has been happening at the Wits Auditorium, the Linda Auditorium, since the 25th, I think, of January. And it's a melody celebration. 67 blankets for Nelson Mandela Day are going to be crocheting while people are watching the beautiful music that's going to be coming out in the next few days. In fact, I'm leaving straight after the show, and I'm going to the actual birthday. It not only sort of marks the birthday of Mozart, who was born in 1756, but also the 5th birthday of 67 Blankets Initiative, which has won several awards and smashed world records in its desire to continue Madiba's legacy by keeping thousands of people around the world warm. Now, if you don't know 67 Blankets, what they do is that they have a group of people, nitwits, who knit throughout the year blankets for the winter, and then they sort of disperse it around people who are homeless and don't have shelter. And this initiative is humongous. I mean, they've been doing this for years, and really has always, what I love about this initiative by 67 Blankets as an NGO is that they are so consistent. You know, they are always trying to do something innovative with the work that they do. It's not interesting to watch people knit. It really isn't. But it's amazing the kind of impact that they have. It's amazing the kind of ideas that they come up with, where they get people to get involved in crochet and work and get ready for winter, which is, you know, a few months away. So they're going to be having this amazing Knitwits sort of celebration alongside Mozart's birthday at the Linda Auditorium today, and I think for the rest of the week I'm not too sure. You can find that out on their site. But if you are a big avid, which I am, an avid supporter for 67 Blankets, not only because of its tie with Madiba, but also just because it really is one of those NGOs that I feel is always sort of innovative and always up in some way trying to make people knit. And I think it's amazing. They've been doing this for 5 years, and they've been embarking for, I don't know, their 5th Guinness World Record. Last year, I remember they had a huge blanket that was knitted that looked like Mandela's centenary, but you could only see it by satellite. So then people needed to go up on a helicopter to actually see the entire blanket, and this was all for Mandela Day. So it's a really innovative space that really looks at trying to make sure that people who are who aren't, you know, who don't have homes, who are homeless, are warm this winter. And the winters are getting crazier and crazier because of our climate and what's happening with pollution in general. So I think it's very important that we celebrate them for the work that they're doing and also their innovation. Anyway, something that you can do today if you have time. We're going to take a short break, and after this it's going to be things to remember.
My name is Andrew Lowndes. I'm the UK and Ireland Sales Manager for Presslit Care. At Presslit Care, we're very passionate about providing access for people with physical disabilities. And we're very passionate about the Changing Places campaign that provide larger accessible toilet and changing facilities. It's fantastic when we can see the smile on the faces of users. That's our reward, is to see the satisfaction and the enjoyment that people have.
Imagine that you have $1.25. In the United States, you can have 5 bags of deep cheese and a pretzel. In London, you can have an instant soup. In India, you can have 2 steamed rice cakes. In Ghana, you can have a small box of chicken and rice. While you're imagining the tasty smell of that chicken and rice, 1.3 billion people around the world only have $1.25 to survive per day. They don't have a choice, but you do.
As you know, every single day we end off the show with things to remember, and I always think it's important that if nothing sticks with you, and then for the past 30 minutes, there's something at least, if anything does, it be this part of the show, things to remember. We're going to play a short clip for you, and we'll be back straight after this.
Do you think that we're ready to evolve into a more enlightened state so that we can move to that place where we have sustainability?
So what we do right now That's going to determine our future and whether we're creating that kind of world that we dream of. We see the symptoms of a reality we didn't expect. Have we reached the limitations of our human nature? Living here in the future's past. To be a part of that, like you, Ron, you guys in the room here. It's so wonderful to be in partnership with you guys to create the kind of world I think we all want to. I think we're in alignment, aren't we? We kind of want basically the same place. So that and it's so wonderful to be involved in this project.
Sustainability Symposium, which is happening this year, 2019, is one of those spaces or one of those symposiums that has been designed to really shatter the status quo in favor of disruption and innovation, directly and honestly confronting the reality of climate change, the challenge of the generation, and the opportunity of a lifetime. It happens in the United States of America, unfortunately, but I think it's one of those events that really does have a really important and inspiring engagements, especially if you really do care about sustainable future and you really want to develop strategies that will help transition us to a zero carbon economy. Now, attendees also learn so much, and they interact with internationally celebrated leaders as they share essential insights about smart cities, about renewable energy, about advanced technologies, about intelligent water. I just spoke about that, about sustainable design. There's so much going on at that symposium that you just really don't want to miss. And it's one of those flagship situations, and I'm really excited about this year's one. Thought it was important that I really reiterate sustainability today for our things to remember, because my show is really about that kind of sector, sustainable living, making sure that our industries, making sure that our hopes and our dreams to make sure that we are in a zero carbon economy and we live in a zero carbon economy are realized. And that's what this was about. And if anything, I hope that's the last thing you remember, the Sustainability Symposium. Again, a lot of events happening this year. I am always just a little bit scared for events, because I do think we are just talking and never really getting to the point. But I definitely do think that if we have the right sort of conversations and the right players, we're able to really get something out of it that's really amazing. And that's what the symposium really does, in my opinion. Of course, if you have anything that you think you don't like about the symposium, if you've been there, if you have watched it online, whatever the case may be, if you have any thoughts, please send them to press@social-tv, and I will gladly speak to you on air about your ideas and your thoughts around sustainability. But also, the big lingering question for this year in CSI and CSR is, are we having meaningful events? Are we conferencing for the right reasons? Is conferencing really working for CSI? Is sitting down, listening to people speak about, thought leaders actually speak about what needs to be done, is it enough for us to see a change? Are we inviting the right people there? Are we inviting our NGOs? Are we inviting our activists in these spaces? Are we inviting our government counterparts? What is it that we're talking about? What is the industry, and who is the industry speaking to at these conferences? So I want you to think about that. That's the one thing I really want to think about. I've been thinking about it. I've been to a million, and I do think that a lot of the time it's the same content. But anyway, that concludes my show for today. Update Monday is what we call it. And if you want to be part of the show, again, visit brandlife.co.za on Facebook or on Twitter. Tell us your story, tell us what you're doing in your community, and we will try our best to come there, to film it, or to speak to you on air. And that's all from me, Viwe Tyolwana. I'm signing out, and I'll be back again, same time, same place, only on The Social Show.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. brandlive.co.za